Hi, Julie.
Hi there, Laura. Lori.
Yeah, how are you?
Good.
Ugh,
How are
did you
you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. Did you have a chance to connect with Cheryl at all about next class? Don't forget to reach out to her if you haven't.
About the next class.
Said you were going to miss a class or something. You said you were traveling June 2nd, July 2nd.
Yeah, let me check and see. I might have sent that.
Okay, good. Good, good, good. I just want to make sure that she knows.
Okay, thank you for that. I just sent it to her.
Oh, okay, great. Perfect.
Now, what's going on with Maria?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm just going to give her a second. I haven't heard anything.
Did you ever hear about last week?
Last week? You mean last class or last week?
Last class.
Hmm. I was just told that she has just some family stuff going on. I don't know the specifics.
Okay.
Okay. I was just going to give her just a couple more minutes because that makes it easy for. Okay. Um, okay, let's see what they say. Why don't we get started? And hopefully she'll show up. I'm waiting to hear back from her. Okay. Okay, so why don't we do things in reverse today? Let's start going through the chapter information. Hopefully Maria will pop in, and then we'll go from there. Let's see what happens.
Okay.
I hope everything's okay. It's not like her.
Hmm.
All right.
Does she have your a way to contact you?
Yeah, I reached out to Cheryl. Cheryl's trying to connect with her.
Gotcha.
So we will see what happens with that. Okay, perfect. All right, so it's just you and me for now. All right. So today we're going to talk about active listening and reflection and the importance of that. So there's a chapter on that. It's actually chapter 9. And before we dive into that, did you have a chance to purchase the transformational coach book?
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Okay,
have it.
perfect.
Do I need to get it? I think it's in my bedroom.
Maybe. Yeah, you could go on break too and do
Okay,
that, if
on
anything.
break. Okay. I just want to make sure it's not here before I go look.
Yeah, no
No, it's
problem.
like different places, because I take it different places.
Yeah.
And somebody stayed in this room and I had to pile everything up.
Oh, don't you hate when that happens? Yeah.
Messes up my non-system here.
Yeah, I get it.
I know you do. Let's see. All right, I'll go get it later. Okay.
Okay. Okay, cool. So we depending on how this class goes, we may do something with that. Okay. So today we're going to talk about active listening and reflection. So it's something that we are familiar with. And part of what makes this one so important is that if you're not listening, the rest can go out the window, right? So you will hear people say that this is truly the art of coaching is active listening. So we want to think about the foundation of it is going to be the listening, the reflections, and then the open questions, right? So us being able to be direct, us being able to ask open questions, that's all going to come from our listening and really hearing what our client is saying. So we typically won't have, if we don't have good listening, it's going to be really hard to get to the rest. So if the one thing to remember is that if we're not listening to our client, then we're not going to be able to get anywhere in our conversation. The conversation isn't going to move forward. Our client is not going to get results because they're really looking to us, excuse me, to hear what it is that they're saying and what they're not saying. So we're going to dive into that today. But before I get started, I should have asked you any questions about anything up until this point.
No.
Okay, so the one thing that I tell everybody is if you're going to spend any time or energy in working on your coaching skills, this is the one to really start with and to hone in on and to spend and dedicate a lot of time in. So if with really good listening, active listening, this is where we're going to really understand what our clients are saying. We're going to understand what they're saying, and we're going to be able to reflect it back. We're going to be able to give them feedback that they need to hear in order for them to really be clear as to what they have, where they are, right? So a lot of times, well, let me hold off on that thought. So the one thing that's also important with the listening part of this and how we interact with our clients is to really do it without judgment, right? And sometimes that's going to be a little hard depending on the conversation. But we have to really just make sure that our listening is judgment free. So if we're going to hone in on that listening skill,
I'm
we're going to
sorry.
make, yeah,
It's very warm in here.
okay,
And I didn't want to turn on the AC because it's so loud.
that's okay. That's
Okay,
okay.
so I've got the fan and I've got the window cracked now.
Oh, you could turn your AC on. Just keep yourself on mute. That way, when Maria listens to the
No,
recording, really
I
okay.
will if I need to.
Okay, perfect.
It's hot.
Okay, perfect. So one of the things with listening is that we want to make sure that it's judgment free, that we're not bringing in any of our biases in this. And this is also, like we talked about last class, this is where our listening is really going to have us be curious, ask those powerful questions, get curious with our clients. So, and again, when we talk about curiosity, we're talking about like really understanding and asking questions so they can move forward. One of the things that I would like to point out is that we have hearing and then we have listening. And the best way to differentiate between the two, the best example I could give is, say you're watching TV and you're watching TV, and somebody's talking next to you and you hear what they're saying, right? There's actual sounds that you're picking up, but you haven't heard a word that they said because you're focused somewhere else. So we can hear that they're actually saying something to us. However, if we're not able to take it in and embody it, then we're not listening, right? So we want to make sure that the physical sound through our ear, which is hearing, then gets translated and we're actually able to provide it meaning and understanding and all of those things that we do with the things that we take in. So one of the things that we always say is that listening is an active sport, right? It's a verb. It's something that we have to do in order to listen. Because you could just sit there and just zone out, not hear anybody, right? Like when I'm home alone, I put the TV on just to hear sounds. I have no idea what's going on. I'm not actually intently paying attention to it. So we want to make sure that we're paying attention, and not only paying attention, but that we're interpreting it so that way we can really grasp the concept of what is being said. So we're listening for what's being said. We're listening for the emotion behind it. We're listening for the ideas, for the inflection, for what's meaningful, right? We're listening for their emotions like excitement or what energy that they have behind what words they're actually saying. So really paying attention and interpreting what we're hearing is really what we call active listening. So if we're not doing that, then we're going to miss a lot. So I know, I'm sure the same is true for you, Julie. Like after a whole day of sitting there listening, actively listening to people, you're just like ready to tune off the world, right? And like you could have other people talking to you and you don't hear a thing, right? Because it takes effort. It takes effort to be on. It takes effort to be engaged. It takes effort to be actively participating in that. And it can be tiring, right? So if we're not doing that, we're going to miss a lot for our clients. And you might find yourself saying, I mean, I know I do this in my personal life all the time. And the one thing my husband always says to me is, and you call yourself a coach, right? But I'm always like, I'm really sorry. I didn't hear what you said. And he gets so mad, rightfully so. But right, like sometimes we're just not listening. And so if we're not listening, actively listening, then we're not paying attention. And so we want to make sure that we get really present to it, that we, it's a learned skill that takes effort to really be a great listener. So the other thing to consider is that besides the words that they're saying, the one thing that we want to pay attention to is like the tonality. Do they go really high? Do they go really low? Are they sad? Are they happy? The tone of their voice, the language that they're using, right? What words are they using? And also the nonverbal cues that they're giving us. And especially here with Zoom, it's really great and easy for you to see, like, am I in a good mood? Am I energized? Or am I just tired? And like, we can see differences in our clients of them, like when they get excited, or like if you see their shoulders slump because they just feel rejected, or they just, have a negative emotion that they're dealing with. So we can pick up on those nonverbal cues to also aid in our listening. It adds to the package of it. So when we hear something that they're saying, we're going to actually respond back to them. And we're going to do that in the way, most of the time, in the form of questions. And our questions are going to be to seek clarification when it's needed, right? We're going to reflect back what they're saying to make sure that we're on the same page, right? So some of the strategies that we use for active listening, first and foremost, is like what we talked about, being fully present. A lot of times, especially as women, we try to multitask. And multitasking doesn't work with listening, right? You need to get eye contact. You need to like lean into the conversation. You need to really be present and like actively participating in that. So the one thing that we can do first and foremost to make sure that we are fully present is getting rid of our own agenda of what we think that our client needs, how we want the conversation to look, how we want it to go, all of that whole entire conversation. Excuse me, and just really focus on what they're saying. So that means avoiding planning our next question. That means don't worry about what's going to happen next. Don't worry about anything other than what you're hearing. Not even like how you're going to reflect it back to them. Because when you are actively listening, the reflecting back and then the follow-up questions come naturally. They will automatically generate your next question. So some ways for us as coaches to stay present, especially in a conversation that's difficult for us to listen to, which there's going to be times where that happens, is first and foremost, right? We don't want to say yes or, right? We don't want to do that. It distracts from our conversations. Or saying, okay, or I get it, right? We don't want to do any of that on our end when we're listening. But what we can do is nod our head. We can also lean into our cameras, right? Especially, or if you're in person, lean in to that person. And that active leaning in tells us, oh, this is important. So when we do that, we're actually engaging even further. And when our client gets our eye contact, when they see that we're listening, when we're giving them encouragement, right? It shows them that we are paying attention, that we're engaged. It'll encourage them to continue talking, and they will also recognize that our body language is open. Like we're not sitting there like this and like, right, like all, and we're not with our backs to them. We're not doing something else. We're not on our phone. Like they will engage because we're engaged. And then once that happens, we will start creating that level of trust that we need even more, because then they feel important. And so when we talk about Zoom, it's sometimes a little different than in person because you can't get that eye contact as much. But what we really want to do is, like I said, lean into our cameras, like make sure that they know, hey, we're not here in person. I can't, right? Sometimes you get that energy from somebody. You can get it through Zoom, but I feel in person, it's a lot quicker to generate that. But keeping that eye contact as much as possible as we can in a virtual setting, or really any video conferencing, is really key, right? So the other thing too, that what's going to happen is when we really listen to our clients, we're going to want to reflect it back. And reflecting back is going to be just restating what the client has said by using their own words, using their language to make sure that we're understanding. But then it's also going to be that they recognize, one, we understood and we're paying attention. And two, they're going to be able to hear it back. And they're going to be able to hear it back and validate that what we paraphrased is actually the truth, is actually what they intended to say. And if we're not really clear, then we're going to ask some clarifying questions, right? So those are going to be your open-ended questions that are going to prompt the client to clarify what they've said, right? And this will deepen the dialogue and uncover any underlying issues. So I had a call last night where my client said to me, I usually push people, how do they say it? I usually push people to the point that they get really mad, and then I know where I am. And my clarification question was, what do you mean you know where you are? Like, explain that. And then she went into this whole conversation about her upbringing and about how her dad, like their whole dynamics, and how now she's bringing that into her relationship in adulthood. And it was something that I could have easily just stepped over. And I would have lost that whole other piece of her validation. Her own self-worth is still based on a conversation of her being 5 years old. Right? So it's a really good example that if we're not listening and we're not like picking up those small clues of what people said, and like her voice went, changed, her tonality changed on that. And she just kind of said it, dropped it, and then kept going, right? Like, it's like she wanted to share it, but she didn't want to deal with it. And like, as you know, that's the stuff like we need to really target and get in on and try to get them to open up on it. Because that's what's going to make all the difference for the conversation. The other thing too, that we had a really awesome example of last class was managing silence. So people have a hard time with silence. People love to fill up the space, even if they just have to talk about nonsense. They do not like being in silence. They feel uncomfortable. They feel exposed. They feel like, some people even feel like, oh, if I'm not in a constant conversation with somebody, it means that we don't get along. It means that we're not fun. It means that they don't care, right? They put all this meaning to silence. So I believe it's in our nature to just fill that space up. And one of the cool things about the last session that we heard is ultimately that silence, that space is what's going to be able for our clients to hear their thoughts, to generate their thoughts, to answer their question, and then follow it up with something else that might come to mind, right? They may go deeper than what they originally said. And one of the things that we have to work on is really being comfortable with silence and allowing that space for at least 10 to 20 seconds. And that's what I really liked about the last one, is that she went beyond the 10 seconds. And because she did that, the client just kept going on their own. She barely asked any questions, right? So the silence is going to help advance the conversation. When we don't leave enough time and we start to interrupt, then we're going to lose momentum. So we really want to avoid interruptions as much as we can. We want them to finish their thoughts, and we want them, we don't want to fill up the space, the silence. We want them to just kind of sit with it for a second, because when we give them that extra space, their brain is thinking, and they may come up with something that wasn't even on their radar, right?
Yep.
I just want to make sure. And so then when we're reflecting and summarizing, we're going to reflect back what the client said. This is a part of active listening to be able to do that. And it's really a strength for coaching. It's what has people really feel understood and heard. It is something that's going to allow you to connect with your clients when they realize that you're honestly the only person in their life that's truly listening to them. It will automatically have you connect deeper. It'll have them have more trust for you. It will strengthen that relationship because they feel supported. They know you're letting them know that you understood what they're saying, and that it all makes sense what they're saying, and that it helps for them to clarify, for them to clearly hear their thoughts, and it'll reinforce their thoughts for them. And it'll reinforce their energy, their emotions, right? It'll keep things organized for them when we reflect back. So when we reflect back, we'll also allow them to listen back to what they said and make sure what they're saying is in alignment with what they want to say, with what they believe, and also reconfirms that what we're hearing is really the truth. So when we summarize it, we're going to just use segments of the conversation, just key points, right? And we want to do this at least, 2 different times in the conversation, definitely at the end. And you want to re-summarize throughout your call. And one of the things that's super helpful when we do that is, one, for whatever topic that they're talking about, and then one of the things that I always summarize for them, especially if they're stuck, is their coaching agreement, right? You want to be able to say, like, look, at the beginning of this call, you said you wanted to talk about blah, 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 and what you wanted to have was blah, blah, blah. So how does this conversation fit into that? Right now you're telling me and you re summarize what they just said. I just want to be clear, like, are these connected and I'm just not understanding? Or are these two totally different things? And if they tell you it's two totally different things, then you could tell them, okay, great, got it. So which one of these do you want to talk about? And if they choose the second thing, then we get another coaching agreement, right? You really confirm that with them and be like, okay, great. So if this is what you want to talk about, what is it that you want to have with this conversation at the end of this call? And then you're now solidified in your conversation again, right? So we want to make sure that key points are in there. We want to make sure the essence of what the client is saying is in there. We don't need it to be word for word, but we need to have keywords that they're using. So we want to use their language, just like mirroring, right? And this is going to help them really get clear on their thoughts and their feelings and make sure that they're aligned with it. So when we reflect back emotions and we acknowledge our clients' emotions, we're validating their experience and we're promoting like emotional healing for them. So when we notice that they're upset about something, then we want to say like something along the lines of, I notice that there's a change here in your voice. Like, what's going on? What's happening here? Right? Like, what happened? What's going on? And just try to get them to open up as to what is going on. And when sometimes their emotions are going to be clear, but sometimes we don't know where they're coming from. Either way, we want to validate that we're truly understanding what it is that they're feeling. So we want to reflect back the emotional cues that we're getting, and that way ask any clarifying questions if we need to. And then when we talk about energy shifts with our clients, when you see that there's a change in how their demeanor is, their energy, then that's definitely an area that we want to investigate further. The reflecting back too is also going to be that we're going to make sure that what we're thinking, that the way that we're thinking about what they said is truly what they said. So we're going to make sure that everything is accurate. We want to make sure that we understand it correctly. So one of the ways that we can do that is by asking a question, so if I understood you correctly, I heard blah, blah, blah. Is that correct? And have them, yeah, that's right. Or sometimes hearing it back, they're going to be like, yeah, that's right. But what I really meant to say was XYZ. And they may change it, they may modify it, they may add to it. And it helps. And as they're doing that, we will naturally come up with another question, right? And that is going to support that client moving forward. Okay. Any questions around that? Anything? Pretty simple, right?
No, I don't have any questions. I do want to say that it seems uh, odd
Mm.
to have this class one-on-one.
Okay.
That to be focused for 2.5 hours
Mm.
on one person without interaction
Mm.
or just listening. I have
Mm.
found that my mind's
Yeah.
wandering a little bit to my body. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I get that.
Um, I don't want to be rude or non-cooperative, but this is hard.
Hmm. Okay.
I mean, we're talking about listening, and
Mhm.
I'm thinking, where is Maria? I'm
Mhm.
thinking it's not fair to you that you don't know
That's okay.
what the
I'm
deal
okay with it.
is.
I'm okay with
And
it.
well, everybody's involved in it.
Mhm.
I'm involved in it, she's
Mhm.
involved in it, you're involved in it.
Mhm.
Um, and to be in communication and just give a heads up is just basic.
Yeah,
Just
I just hope that she's okay. Like that's where I'm standing, and I'm sure that we'll get it.
I
Up.
definitely hope that she is okay.
Yeah,
And it shifts the dynamic. And I'll do my best. I just wanted to sort of clear that.
yeah. Thank you for sharing that, and I get that. I get that. I get that it's more difficult um when there's an expectation that there's more people. It's very difficult for having it to be one-on-one. And the one thing that I'm committed to is not having you feel like on the spot, if that makes sense.
Sure,
Right?
of
Like
course.
um that's not my style. So we're just going to continue. We're going to just have this conversation. Maria's going to be able to rewatch it so that way everybody's on board. Your next call is going to be with Coach Cheryl, so she'll be on that with you guys. And
What is the group mentoring call? Have we had those before?
I'm not sure if you have.
I mean, I know
Um,
we've had the individual coaching calls and then the
mhm,
classes, and then there's the group mentoring
mhm.
that I just wasn't clear about the format.
Here, let me see. Let me see if you had. You've had one other group mentoring class. It was the third session. Um, it was on May 28th.
Okay,
So,
that's entirely probable. I'm certain, but I just don't remember it.
yeah, yeah. You were, yep, you were there. Um,
I've been at every class.
yeah,
I think.
it looks like that. Yeah, definitely. You have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so Coach Cheryl will tell you more about the mentoring and what that is all about as far as the conversations that you're going to have in that. As far as this session goes, we have a little bit of, if we can, we're supposed to have a little bit of interaction at the end of it. There's some activities that we're scheduled to do. Everything's gonna be up in the air until we see whether or not Maria is able to come on. And as far as the coaching, that's also something that I have an alternative to as well. So let's just see um, if we're able to get some information on that.
Yeah, and I would think that if she ends up not being able to join us, that the class would be a little bit shorter.
Uh, yeah, I would hope. So part of what happens is the credentialing that comes along for you to be ACC eligible is that these classes are a certain amount of time, which is why they're laid out the way that they're laid out. Um, and
So I am credentialed, just
oh, good. Okay, great.
so you know
Yeah,
that, and
yeah, that's right. I forgot. Sorry.
no, that's quite all right. And one of the also like inner conversations that I have is that this is an emotional intelligence class, and more it seems sort of like a basic coaching class. Not that I can't use a review, believe
Yeah.
me. I sincerely mean that. I try to listen with beginner's mind, you know. But I do have the question like, I'm not sure. This,
So as we go through,
yep,
hold on, I just need to get that one more time. Let me see that schedule. Oh, here it is. So as we go through,
yeah,
um, the way that it is designed to do is that all of this is accumulating to that EQ component. So this is like the foundationals in order to do that. So
okay,
okay, so one of the things that we want to make sure when we are with our clients, right, that goes along with the EQ component is really our empathetic engagement, right? It's like, so here we are, we've worked this whole time in making sure that they feel that there is trust, that there is a rapport, that they can share anything that we want with us. And sometimes what happens is they're going to share something, and even if we're not very familiar with what it is that they're dealing with, we still have the capacity to be able to be empathetic for them, right? And so we want to have our clients be aware that regardless of what they're dealing with, whether or not we have firsthand knowledge of it or not, that we've created this safe space and that we're responding to their emotions. So we have the capacity for us to show them that we are understanding and we are connecting with what they're saying, regardless of whether or not we've dealt with it ourselves, right? And we're going to do that with this reflection when we reflect back to them and have them really get that we've heard what they said. We understand how difficult it is. Like we're really empathizing with them. And then if it's at a point where we can go deeper with them about something through an area where we are connecting with them on an emotional level, then that's where ultimately where we want to live with them, right? So everything that we've talked about up until this point is being able to create that relationship when they're sharing something profound or something that's really important to them, that they truly get, like, we get it, and without us saying anything like, oh, that really sucks, or you know what I mean, like, I'm sorry you have to deal with that, like, but that we are really engaged in their success. So let's see. um so one of the things that we want to do as well, both for, we talked about this a little bit last class, is when we have time in between clients or we're dealing with something heavy, that we want to give ourselves some time to recenter. So whether that there's that breath work at the beginning of class, or I mean at the beginning of our sessions, or we're taking 10 to 15 minutes after a session to recenter ourselves, to rewrite our notes, to get super clear about what transpired in the notes, making sure that everything that we've heard is itemized, right? And ultimately, what we're looking for with them is going to be patterns in their behavior, patterns that we're able to reflect back to them when the time is appropriate, right? So it may be keywords, it may be, a subject matter, it may be circumstances or a something that our client is dealing with that like they always seem to have the same scenario pop up, right? And we want to bring some awareness to them around that. And the way that we can, when we recognize those patterns, we also want to recognize, okay, this is the behavior that they're doing, and then recognize the emotions that they have behind that. And, I'm, as I'm saying this, part of, what you said that this is an EQ class, part of what is coming up for me is that like if we're not self-aware and we don't have our own level of emotional intelligence, we're never going to be able to recognize the emotions that they have going on,
Of course.
right? So part of what we're trying to create, right, with all of this is for us to be able to recognize their emotions, be okay with whatever emotions, right? Like recognize it, identify it, label it, and then get to a point that our relationship is so strong that we're able to be like, hey, look, this is what I'm observing for them. So what we want to do is ultimately make sure that their behavior, the patterns that we're seeing, the emotions that we see are ultimately in line with their values, right? And if they're not, then we want to be able to say, look, you're saying family is priority, but you're at the bar 5 nights a week without them. Like, what's happening, right? And so we want to be able to move them beyond their fears and their challenges and into something that is empowering for them. All right, so I just give me 1 second.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, I'm just asking to see if there's an update. Okay. The other thing too that we want to look at to make sure all right. We want to make sure that our clients are also not as humans, I think that we're always very harsh on ourselves, and we want to make sure that we're supporting them in not doing that. So, example, like the person that I was talking about earlier, she's dealing with a relationship, she's dealing with a breakup. She had she had a relationship come out of nowhere. She kind of felt like maybe this was her chance. Like she's a little bit older, and she thought that maybe this was the person that she was waiting for so she could have a family, and the relationship is disintegrating. So then she's going into this whole conversation of her worthiness and like she's the reason why it's not working out, and like going through and really just making it be that not recognizing her value. Instead, she keeps putting herself down. She keeps talking bad about herself. Like a lot of her limiting beliefs are coming up. Just really in a negative space. And when you try to coach into that, I don't know, I'm sure you've had experiences with that too. And it's really difficult to try to make somebody see like that's not the truth. You could tell them that, but whether or not they believe it is a different story,
Yeah.
right? Um, and so we want to make sure that part of what we're doing for them is help them through our listening, really provide the space where they can see, like, hey, that really isn't the truth. That, like, I got to tell you, it was one of those things that she even texted me this morning and was just like, we got it to a point where she took some actions that she felt super comfortable with. And then this morning, she read some article that was telling her to do the complete opposite. And she's like, I should have never have done that. Right. But she was so adamant 2 days ago, like, this is what I'm going to do. And she's just wavering. She's not standing in her power at all. Right. And one of the things that I found myself doing is having to go back and reiterate with her, look, when we spoke about this is what you said you felt most comfortable doing. And this is what you felt was how you would handle it, regardless of how other people would handle it. Like, if this person was just your friend, this is how you would handle it. And she's struggling with that now, right? Like, she's going down this whole self-deprecation route. And like, it is really hard to deal with, really hard to deal with. Um, and I really believe, and I'd love to hear from you, right? For me, it's like, okay, going back to, things that she admires about herself. We've already talked about that, what she finds her strengths are, what's positive in her life, but also then what her values are. And I felt, I was going down the path of like, look, this is the value that you have, and this relationship isn't meeting that value. Right. And it was one of those things that, like, she saw it, but she didn't want to believe it. Have you had an experience like that before?
Yes, I'm thinking about a woman who, after many years of marriage, discovered that her husband, uh, I think he left and he went to a rehab, and she didn't even know he had a problem.
Mm.
And he had been deceiving her for very, very long time.
Oof.
And she was struggling with why she couldn't get over being angry,
Mm.
instead
Yeah.
of giving herself space and process time, you know,
Yeah.
and actually was going to let him back in the house and they'll live in separate rooms and be very uncomfortable without kind of shaking things out and really considering herself and what was going to work for her in her precious life.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really hard.
yeah, and she was, how can I be so stupid? How can I be so stupid?
Hmm.
Rather than, how could he do this?
Hmm.
It was turned back on herself. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the thing too, is that, we had a lot of conversations of, you could do X, Y, or Z, but there can't be any expectation of how
Yeah.
he's going to behave. And also, when she would go down the pathway of, well, I'm sure he's doing X, Y, or Z, like, I found myself saying, well, we don't know what he's doing. Like, we can't factor that in, right? Like, you have to live autonomously, like, and not
Have your
assume.
actions be based on his
Yeah.
actions.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was like, my heart went out to her, but it was pretty difficult. Pretty difficult.
It sounds difficult. I was out there single a long time, And marriage is a great refuge.
Mhm.
It's, I mean, there's a reason why it's been around this long,
Mhm.
so long,
Yeah,
so that people don't have to go through this repeatedly.
yeah, yeah, definitely. But then marriage has its own set of complications, right?
Yes, sure. Challenges,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. You know, we were laughing. Cheryl had put a post on Facebook today about if you were your own roommate, what would annoy you?
Hmm.
And I'm like, the fact that I leave my coffee cup in the sink every morning. Like I wash everything else and my coffee cup just goes in the sink. It's this habit that I have. And so we had a good laugh because she's like, "Oh, I do the same thing." And I'm like, "Well, my husband just gets so annoyed. It doesn't matter how many dishes I put away, how many dishes I clean, but that coffee cup is in there. It's like that Achilles, you know." He's just like, "What are you doing?" He gets
Funny. I mean, if you know how many dishes are in my sink. I mean, we both work on
Mhm.
tidying, and I very often make requests, I need help here. But
Yeah.
I think I would appreciate you as a roommate if that's all you do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people I cannot go to bed without there can't be dishes in my sink. It like gives me anxiety. So I'm always cleaning and like that's why it's just so funny that I'm just like that one coffee cup. Anyways, let me see what's going on here. Um
You want to check something too. Hmm.
okay. So we had oh, I'm sorry, you're checking something.
Yeah, I got somebody asking to reschedule a coaching session actually. Let's see. It's good. You can go. I gave him an alternate time. Go ahead. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
No, you're fine. You're fine. What I was gonna say is to close off on the whole listening part, the whole intention, as you know, is to just make sure that our conversations become more beneficial, that they become more impactful, more insightful, and that our client is left with a even more um, progressive coaching call than when they started. One of the things that I was supposed to do today are two activities about around listening, but we can't do it with two people. Um, and so what I might do is just let Cheryl know so that way you guys can do the activities
Okay.
yourselves on when you guys are together. Um, and then I'm waiting for her to just send me another recording like we had on the last class.
Okay.
So we'll take a listen through one of that, and then you and I will just go through it like we did last time.
That sounds
So
good.
I'm gonna wait for her to do that. But in the meantime, do you have any questions, comments, statements, need anything?
Um, no, I was just gonna say maybe we could take a break while you're waiting
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, we're going to. We're gonna take a break. So
No, I'm good. And I know it was probably a little bit of a jolt when I said all what I said about not being easy. Just having just a one-on-one class and
I
not
get it.
not hearing from Maria. It's, I find her very dear and I do hope she's okay. And in my world, um, especially when you're in a small situation like this where every player makes a difference,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
You just give a heads up.
Yeah.
But
And I know I've known Maria for quite some time.
yep,
Uh, there has to be something going on in order for her not to communicate with anybody. So
okay,
I hope it's
I get
okay.
that.
Yeah. She's just she's probably one of the most genuine people I've ever met.
I'm
So I'm sending her prayers, right? Like she's just
totally,
yeah,
totally. I was just thinking, that because I think I've got a lot going on, and I do.
yeah.
Uh, and she's got 5 kids at home. I mean, that's just
I know.
is gobsmacking.
Yeah.
So I do understand and have no issue with the problem that she's, struggling with something. I just,
Oh, I get it. And I don't think anybody would take what like I one value the fact that you felt comfortable enough to say it. Two,
thank you.
I don't take it personally and I don't
No,
think there's
nor should
anybody
you.
and I don't think there's anybody that wouldn't understand,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like I'll never forget I one time I ended up showing up to a workout class where there was supposed to be 10 of us and I was the only one and I was like, right? I felt like I couldn't hide out in the back. Like I'm like, oh my God. And it was like with the one of the coaches that like really makes sure you get a good workout. Like if I would put, 10-pound weights on each side, she'd come and she'd give me another 10, right? Like that girl. I was like, no, was my initial response. But it ended up being a great class. But yeah, you just make the best of it. But don't worry about any of it.
Okay.
Let's take a break
All right.
and I'm gonna get that recording. So why don't we go until I don't know,
25.
yeah, 25 after. Okay.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
You're welcome.
Hi.
All right. Home stretch. Okay. We're going to listen to a coaching call.
Okay.
And then we're just going to do like we did last time. Just kind of talk about what we liked about it. What stood out for us with the
Yeah.
competencies and go from there.
Excellent.
Awesome. Okay. The one thing that I want to do is I want to see, can you hear this if I go on mute? I think so. So let me share. Just because my puppies it's raining here, so my puppies are a little rambunctious. Okay, let's see if you could hear this with me still being on.
Hi, Janet.
Were you able to hear her say that?
I heard hi, Janet, and that was it.
Okay, so it doesn't work. I need to stay on volume. Perfect. Okay, thank you.
That's
All
too
right.
bad.
Okay, I'm gonna go put my dogs away. Here we go.
All right, I'm going to go off video and mute.
Perfect.
Hi, Janet.
Hi.
I am so delighted to be spending some time with you here today. And before we start, I would just like to do a little bit of housekeeping. Is that all right with you?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we have 30 minutes for this coaching session. So we'll have it, so my time, it's about 8:12 my time. And so it'll be around, 8:35 that we'll be ending this. And you're 3 hours ahead, so I guess that's 11:35 your time.
I'm just two.
Oh, you're 2 hours. Okay, so 10:35. Okay. And then also to for the housekeeping, I'd like to cover, what your comfort level with challenge within the coaching session is.
I'm pretty comfortable with it being challenged because it helps me think about things in a different way. Right. So yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with it. And if it's too much, I'll just tell you, nope.
Perfect.
Oh.
Wonderful. That's great. Thank you. And also too, I would like to, like mention, like, are you comfortable with me interrupting you if it feels like maybe the conversation's going off your topic?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
How would you like me to interrupt you? What would be the best?
Just say something. I don't mind, if you overtalk me to redirect me because, yeah, I'm one of those, I've been told I ramble and I know I do. So it seems all important in my head, so it just comes out. So, yeah, I'm just, if you talk over me, it'll be fine and say, hey, Janet, let's reassess or redirect. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. Okay, and so before we start, is there anything that you might need to address so that you are fully present here for your session here today?
I'm gonna take a drink as soon as I find it. And then I'll be ready to go.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. That's good that you take care of yourself. What is really important for you talk about today?
My sister's funeral is tomorrow. And, I want to be comfortable going to the funeral, knowing that I can, how to say it, I'm doing what I need to do, and how it affects everybody else in my family who can be quite judgmental, and I don't know what they are, but well, I do know what they are, but I want to, and even with my spouse, I want to be on an even keel and not let myself get so upset over things. Because I know I do that, just, and this is a tough situation, you know, with my sister dying. And I just need to, I can rest when I have her in the vault. This is this is important, but I need to make sure my sister's in the vault so nobody else can hurt her. So, and I'm carrying all this tension with me in case, you know, something goes wrong. I don't know what could go wrong at a funeral, but you know, yeah, there's a lot of high tension. I call her husband exactly that, my sister's husband, because of various reasons. And well, I didn't even care enough to call to see if he's out of the hospital to go to my sister's funeral. So I need some techniques, or I need to feel like I am capable. I am capable, but I don't want the tension to creep up and me have to take an anxiety pill or something, you know. So I want to be self-aware, I guess. And like right now, the closer it gets to, you know, the day of, I can feel that tension building up. So and it would be nice to be able to be like even at right now, maybe a 3 or 4, you know, that I have the confidence that I'm not going to tell my brother, sister's husband exactly what I think of him. And that's not productive for anybody. But I just want to be able to have some, like I said, some techniques, or talk it through, or examine it and why I feel that way. And so I can go in tomorrow feeling better. And I'll know that, like I said, like right now I'm at a 3 on that feeling, 3, 4. And if I'm at a 6 or 7, I'll be fine with it.
Okay,
So-
wow, Janet, you know, you sure shared a whole lot there, and I would like to take this moment here, if it's okay with you, to reflect back and to offer an observation. Is that all right with you?
Yes.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is that you're going to have to go to this funeral of your sister's, and you have this buildup of this, like it feels to me like an anticipation of something going wrong, you know, during this burial of your sister. And you can't trust yourself with her husband, your brother-in-law, because you have some deep feelings there that you might want to express. And so you want to be able to go in there feeling even keeled. And so what I observed was, you mentioned that this was really important. And when you said that, your voice cracked just a little bit. And it seemed like there was a bit of an energy shift there. Was that a correct observation?
Yes, it was. Because I just want my sister to have a nice funeral, and she's free from pain now, but to be protected from any other harm. I don't want any bad vibes at the funeral, out of respect for her. That is what she deserves. And I'm worried that I'm going to bring a bad vibe in myself, and I don't want to do that. So that's probably what you heard was right there, that I'm worried I'm going to be the one doing that. So,
You mentioned even keel. What does that mean to you?
even kill that I'm aware of what I'm feeling, and that I can recognize the emotions and accept that just because they're there, I do not have to act on them. I can, honor my feelings, but respect my sister at the same time, kind of thing. So it's just maintaining control to me is even, I'm gonna cry, but that's different than what I'm talking about, but, so I can maintain a presence, or that's just even, not too high in emotion, but not showing no emotion at all. Because I want to be in the middle. I like that middle ground. So it even kills that middle ground. So
What would you like to walk away with by the end of this session?
I would like to walk away with the knowledge that I am capable of doing this. Which is my thing. You can't do that for me. I realize that. But and maybe some sort of understanding that will stick with me of why I don't have to act on my feelings, why it's okay to have them, but I don't have to express them at this point in time at the funeral. I can do that later, at a later time, if I ever see the man again. And he's the only, well, some of my sisters, two of my sisters are there too, and I have this little need to always get their approval. So I don't want to do that either. I just want to be comfortable in myself and do my thing, which would be even killed, So all these little family problems coming in, I've been working on them, but not with the people in the room. So I have to watch my behaviors that I don't slip back into behaviors I no longer want to do. So,
Okay, so just so that I'm clear, you also mentioned earlier that you were 3 or 4 with your confidence level, and that you would like to come away with being around an 8. Was that correct in hearing that?
I'll be good with a 6 or 7. 8 would be awesome. I mean, if I could come, that would be awesome.
Okay. And you just mentioned also too, just being able to, come away with a better understanding of your control of your emotions. Is that correct? Did I have that right? Or
Well, yeah, because I'm in a point in my life where, this is gonna sound weird, but I am now just learning to express emotions and to be able to recognize them, because I've always stuffed them or whatever. So I'm at this very tenuous stage, needless to say, where that, because I'm just learning about them, I want to act on them. But I also need to learn that sometimes it's not okay to do that, depending on the circumstances. And does that, yeah, I was gonna ask you if that makes sense, but I think it did, so I don't even. So,
So
That's ex-
what's that questioning about yourself all about?
Um. Just my upbringing and my life up to when I was 50, and dealing with my siblings and everything. I've always tried to be like, I want them to like me because I never felt they liked me when I was growing up, and they all like excluded me. And so I overextend on trying to belong or get them to include me and stuff. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to have that feeling that that I need to belong, you know, that, yeah, along those lines. Because I know that I don't need that. Because I mean, I'm good just as I am. And it's their problem if they can't reach out to me, not mine. So, which is part of the tension, I guess, all this family stuff.
Yeah. When thinking about going to your sister's funeral and what you just shared right now about how you question yourself, and it's based upon, wanting to belong, like have your siblings accept you. Is there a connection with this?
Um, I think so, in that Shirley always supported me, and she's the one that passed away. She always supported me, and did not do that what the others did. I chose to break away from her for um just her spouse and things that he did, and she did not stand up for her children. So, but she was always loving and everything whenever we would see each other and everything. And I have a special bond with this sister, whereas I don't with my others that are going, the two that are going to be there that are still alive, you know. So I just, so I feel like I owe it to her to maintain myself. And I don't know, that doesn't seem to coincide though with what I thought it was. That I don't want to, I am of the belief that in spirit she will still be there. She is still with us and stuff. So, and I don't want her to be upset at anything I do. And that would be you not being myself. Because she was supportive of me doing my own thing, of going to college, of, anything I was interested in doing. She was supportive of that. And I just want to support her and respect her by being able to act appropriately. not the way that I feel like I should, but to act appropriately, be myself to honor her kind of thing.
Okay, so, may I share, a perspective?
Yes, please.
I'm just wondering, if there's a conflict within being yourself and acting appropriately.
You know, there may be, because I like to, now I like to tell people as it is, as I'm, you know, tactfully, hopefully, not always, but you know, that I don't want to have to withhold my emotions in order to be nice to my brother. And that I feel that's childish, but I've held it in for so long, and my sister's no longer alive. But out of respect for her, I need to. And her boys will be there too, so I don't want, you know, they don't need to know how much I dislike their father. So,
May I offer, I'd like, to invite you to do a bit of a visionary activity here?
cool, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
So if you don't mind, just closing your eyes just for a second, and I invite you just to take a couple deep breaths.
Okay.
Okay, and so now, just when you're visioning, preparing for this day to meet with these people at this funeral, what would your authentic person bring to this day?
It would bring a weariness that I feel with my family. I think just greet them, tell them hi, I love them because I do love them. And just, I don't know. I want to interact with them, but only so far, because you know, they've hurt me too much, so I don't want to be fake. I just want to be able to interact with them and not get caught up in whatever they're going to be caught up in tomorrow. And that's just, I just want to be able to breathe, say goodbye to my sister in her human form, and be at peace. Then I know that she's at peace finally. And there's no more I can do to help her. That's what I want. I just want it to be peaceful and no drama. Which is that's the authentic me. I don't like drama. I don't like gossip. I don't like all that stuff. So just to honor who I am by not participating in things that I don't want to.
What might you need to let go of in order to show up with your family there so that you're at peace?
I really think I need to let go of my anger at all of them. past, present, future of things I know that they will do. And that I shouldn't be thinking that I know what they're going to do, but based on past behavior, you know, because they'll be just to let go of expectations, of any expectations of anything to do with them. That's where I need to let go of.
What would
Because
that, oh,
I know. Yeah, I was just gonna kind of ramble on about, no expectations and stuff, so thank you for stopping me on that. Because it's not productive.
yeah, so what might that do for you to enter in with no expectations and to let go of your anger?
I think I can be at ease. I cannot have to worry that I'm going to lose it with my brother-in-law. That I can respect my sister, make sure she's put to rest in a way that I see fit. Because I've been protecting her since I was like in 10th grade, just this one final act in her honor. And then I can let that go. I can let that go. So, and I just went to, you can't enjoy a funeral, but you cannot dread it too. So I don't want to dread going to my sister's to have to mingle with my family. I just want to be there for my sister that died, not the other two.
Yeah. You've shared a lot about your feelings, around anger with your family. I just want to check in with you. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I think it helps to talk about them because when I verbalize it, it kind of is like a release for me. So I just, yeah, I can feel like the tension going down. So that's good. That, I realize now what I want because before all I could think of, I just don't want to be what they want me to be. I want to be myself. And it's more deeper than that, I think, than I thought at first. So I just went to go there and do my thing and spend time with my family because I do love them, no matter how oddball or whatever words you want to use about them. They are dysfunctional. Dysfunctional. That's the word for them. Just enjoy having their company, but have no expectations for the future. So I don't get hurt, because it is hurtful. And it's not worth it anymore.
Sounds like this has been something you've been carrying around with you for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would like to acknowledge you for sharing that here today. And I do want you to know that, with me being here, being quiet, that is my way of holding space for you. And, you mentioned that you realized it was something deeper. With that realization, how does that affect you?
Actually, it makes me calmer because I know what it is. I know what I need to do, not entirely, but now I've got a better idea of what mindset, frame of mind, however I choose to put it when I'm talking about. Just what mindset I need to be in. And it's not dependent on them. It doesn't have to be dependent on me. They should expect nothing from me. I mean,
So what is that mindset that you have going forward?
that I just need to be me, that I'm a good person. And if they want a relationship after this, there are no expectations of that on my part. And it's probably gonna be the next funeral before we see each other, if whatever. But not to have any expectations feels really good.
And what does that do for you?
That circular thinking, but it puts me in a better mindset.
Yeah. And so when you are in a better mindset, how might that affect your emotions and the tension in your body?
I can let go of the tension because I'm not trying to hold it in, trying to keep it under control. And yeah, just realizing that I don't, they have no right to have any expectations whatsoever on me. And I can just be myself. And if they don't like it, they don't have to talk to me.
And how does that feel to say that out loud?
That feels good, actually. That
Yeah.
feels good.
Yeah, it looked to me like I was observing some relief there with your laughter. Was that correct?
That is correct, yes. And I'm not even so worried about spouting off my brother-in-law now. So the time will come, the time will come. I just have to wait for it to present itself. So
So at the beginning, you mentioned that you wanted to, go from a 3, 3, 4 to like a 6 is what I think you mentioned. How are you doing on that right now?
I'm doing really good. I think I'm like at a 7 on that. So that is, I feel just so much better and more relieved and less tense. That I was open enough that we could dig into it and figure out what it was, actually what it was, instead of, the surface stuff. So that was really helpful to do that.
How are you going to take this information moving forward into your daily routine?
I think I will apply it to my spouse and to my family that resides with us. And that, I can be myself, and if they don't like me, they can not come into my space. Childish saying, stay out of my space. It's mine.
Yeah. How does that feel to say that?
That's nice to
Yeah.
realize that I really do have my own space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to, recognize you and acknowledge you for the work that you've done to put yourself as a priority. We're coming down to a crunch here. And so what I'd like to ask you are, what considerations might you have to think about in executing your plan moving forward with being at peace?
I need to recognize and explore those feelings when I'm feeling that way and know that it's not surface. That I need to go deeper to figure out the real meaning, you know. And then that's gonna make everything else easier. Once I figure that out, it will be a good step to do just in regards to anything. I mean, you know,
Okay. What would be the best way for you to be supported?
um, just, I think having a talk with my spouse and, just trying to explain to him how I feel. So he doesn't base it on past reactions or, you know, think I'm upset because I'm a certain way. I just need his support in letting me be me and not worry about it because I'm okay.
And
So
how are you feeling about your accomplishments here today?
I'm feeling, sorry, I'm feeling pretty good. So,
Wonderful.
yes, thank you.
Um, Before leaving here today, what might you need to express so that you can leave here feeling settled and ready to transition into the world?
Yes, I'm gonna tell myself that I do matter and that I do know what I need and it's okay.
Telling yourself that you do matter.
Yeah, yeah. I got my tattoo right here. I am enough, right on my arm. So I always know that. So,
Okay, and so what else might we need to address before we stop our session?
no, I think I'm good. I think we addressed even the subconscious things that were, you know, taking place in my mind. Yeah, that's what it is.
Well, I want to acknowledge you for showing up for yourself here today, Janet. And it was a real pleasure being here with you. Shall we end our session on that note?
Yes, I think that's a good plan.
Okay. Well, looking forward to next time, Janet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right, Julie, what were your thoughts on today's session? What did you think?
I have a lot of notes. I guess it was a good session. I have mixed response to some of the questions, and so you're just asking for an overall impression. I mean,
Yeah.
the young woman seemed to get what she needed, and that's the important thing.
Mhm. Yeah. And what are your mixed emotions on?
Well, I thought it was unusual, some of the questions that she asked in the beginning. How comfortable are you with being challenged? I'd never heard that before. And can I interrupt you? Never heard that before. Um, is it all right if I reflect back? You know, I didn't think that needed to be gotten permission for.
Mhm.
Um, so I honestly feel like the coach's self-confidence sort of increased as the session went along,
Yeah.
because it was so tentative. Um, in the beginning, asking so many questions that seemed like she was, needing permission to actually be a coach.
Yeah. I could see how you could see that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I also, my computer cut out a couple of times. But there were some really good questions. Also, may I offer a visionary activity, if you don't mind? There seemed to be some kind of dancing around questions in my listening of the coach's questions. But I really liked that that she wanted to do a visualization with her. I thought that was a very good suggestion. Um, what would your authentic person bring? I thought that was really good. So this is later, um, which it seemed to get a little smoother in terms of the question. And I love that she asked, what would you need to let go of
Yeah.
so
That
you're
was
at peace? That was just a wonderful, wonderful question to ask. And I thought it was curious that I missed a little bit of it, but that my silence is my way of holding space for you. I didn't think that was, it struck me as unusual to say that, like she had to explain that. And then I then I thought she shifted gears a little bit. How are you going to take this information into your daily routines and life in general? Which, that's um, she didn't request that
right. Right.
that I heard. She didn't ask, I want to be able to take this into my life. She really was specific about, I want to be able to go to this funeral, not lose my
Mhm.
composure and honor my sister and be myself. That's a fantastic, thing to focus on. So I thought she opened it back up. Um, and she already said she was at a 7, which at the beginning of the session, she'd be happy, she'd be thrilled with a 6, and she'd be, to the moon with a 7.
Mhm.
And I wrote down here, ended already. Um, which sort of for me, it was like that she kept going past the 30 minutes. She kept going past the time when this client was actually in great shape.
Yeah.
So that's basically what I have to say.
And we don't know why the coach did that, right? But it makes me wonder if you're saying a little bit of like feeling unsure, making sure, what's the word I'm looking for? Um what is the word I'm looking for? Hold on. I gotta think about it. If she was as a coach looking for validation that her client was okay,
Ah,
right?
that
Like
that
you go,
she did a good job.
yeah. So another way that we can do that is like, okay, tell me your biggest takeaway, which she did not do. Right. And that's why we ask those questions like at the end, like, okay, so tell me what stood out for you in this call? Like what was your biggest takeaway?
I love that question.
And I think if she would have asked that, then that awkwardness at the end wouldn't have been there.
Yeah, I love that.
Um, And I have to agree with you about her saying, you know, how can you take this and use this in your life? Um, knowing both of these ladies, I could understand why she was asked that question, but you're 100% correct in the fact that that wasn't part of that wasn't the scope of the call. But I would assert that that was based on a previous conversation
Got it.
of Janet feeling insecure and you know, like a lack of power.
Yeah, I mean, Janet got so much out of it. So,
Mhm.
like, even like setting aside some of my impatience, and I know I'm affected today by I'm so tired that I'm a little cranky, you know. So, so I do want to be generous, you know, in my assessment, and I have to say, ultimately, it was a very good coaching session.
Yeah.
You know, I can see her managing herself in this situation. I think I would have done the visualization a little differently, you know,
Mhm.
but that doesn't matter. You know, what matters is she's going away feeling empowered and saying, I'm a good person,
Yeah, exactly.
which is
Exactly.
wonderful.
And as far as the coaching the competencies go, I felt that she got at least one competency in every group. So
Yeah,
like I felt she nailed the coaching agreement. Like what does she want to have, right? I think one of the ways to strengthen that, like that she said she didn't want to like lose it at her sister's funeral. Um, another way would be even quantum, and I don't know if I missed it, if she did say it, but one of the things that I didn't hear is um how do you know how oh what did I just lost it.
no,
Um
I think I know what you're gonna, I think I know what you're trying to think of, because I missed it too. And I think it might have been a space in the tape.
oh okay.
I think so, because I, I, I think that she must have asked her, and I didn't hear it either. How will we know that you are confident? What's on a
Yes,
scale of 1 to
yes.
10? And I didn't hear that, but I heard Janet, you know, sort of discussing that, and I thought I missed it.
Like how do you know you'll be successful? Like what is that? And I think I would have went a little bit into how do you think you're going to behave, right? Like maybe even do like a worst case, best case scenario situation, right?
That's great.
Because she's on the assumption that she's not gonna do well, right?
I,
Based on test.
I had a lot of compassion for that.
Mhm. Oh, me too. Me too. So she definitely got the coaching agreement. I felt she could have went a little deeper with that of like getting measurables for that. And then I felt that she definitely nailed 4.2. Like she was empathetic and supportive of Janet. Like she asked questions and she validated her as she went through. She definitely, as far as like maintaining presence, competency 5, I have to agree with you of like maybe her stand could have been a little bit more powerful or just more assertive. Um, but knowing the coach, like I could understand why it came across that way. But she did provide a lot of silence and she didn't interrupt as she asked for, right?
Yeah,
Um, so I found that interesting. And then as far as the actively listening competency 6, she did explore emotions. She did have a point where she asked about the energy shift and validated whether or not that happened. She didn't interrupt, which I thought was really interesting because she asked if she could, but she did.
that's right.
um, and then competency 7, I felt like 7.2, expanding the who with the visioning exercise. And also 7.5, like shares and explores, like asking her about wanting to belong, right? Like you mentioned that as well. I felt the client talked more, so 7.8 was definitely good. Exploring competency 8, exploring progress. What do you feel you need to let go of for sure? And then she hit the accountability, she hit the obstructions. Actually, she didn't get accountability, it was obstructions she did. And then she closed it off pretty, it was okay. But she did hit a lot of the competencies there.
Yeah.
Um, if you were the coach in that situation, what would you have asked? Anything come up for you?
Well, let's see. She asked, what is that questioning of yourself about? And Janet went into her relationship with her family members in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a little bit, like a little flag went up, and I wrote, is that archaeological? No, like, is she going uh, uh, into the past? How's she going to get out once she
Yeah.
gets? So that just was something that flashed across, my skin. And uh, she asked, is there a connection between how you're about those relationships and how you're feeling about the funeral? And I thought, of course, absolutely. There is that connection. And I I might have asked, in fact, wrote down, what's happening in your body right now?
Hmm.
I want to learn that skill for myself. And I feel like a little nervous about asking that kind of thing, like it's intrusive.
Mhm.
And, I'm sure that's like connected to my own
Mhm.
experience in my life, in my body. A lot of times, there's a big gap between what's happening in my body and what I'm showing the world.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's an excellent
So,
point. It's an excellent point. And the way that I usually ask people that, or actually not, I don't usually even ask. I did it last time with that girl that I was telling you in the whole relationship. I've been on the phone with her for weeks, like almost every day, right? It's just like this thing. And one of the things that I had said to her was, um, what I want you to start having an awareness on is what happens to you physically. Start paying attention to the things that come up for you, the feelings that come up for you when certain things are happening around you. And then, let's talk about it. So even if you don't want to ask it as a question, you could just have it as an invitation, like almost like a homework for them to just start getting awareness around that. And then maybe then you'll have some freedom to ask it without you feeling uncomfortable around it.
right, that's
No?
that's a very good suggestion. And uh, I might do like the coach we just listened to and saying, would it be all right with you if I paused at certain points in our session and just asked, you to kind of observe what's happening as you speak? I mean, I'm coaching with this person who, he's this very, very tall, large, uh, gregarious, extroverted minister. And I'm always wondering what's actually happening with you, you know, because I don't see, um, I mean, I'm starting to, since we've had, you know, a handful of sessions, but he talks about, you know, I'm this kind of person, I'm that kind of person. And sometimes I would like to say, let's explore that. You know, like he said to me one time, um, I'm a giver. You know, I mean, for someone to say that to me is just like, I don't think I could say that because that is to me, that's sort of braggadocious, you know, to say I'm a giver, you know, even though I believe I'm a giving person, uh, but I'm a taker too,
Mhm.
you know, like I just like when you say I'm a giver, tell me more about, could you tell me more about that? I know I'm not supposed to say tell me anymore. You know, I'd, l- I wonder if I could hear more about that. How is it that you're giving?
Mhm.
And then maybe like get into a different level of self-awareness, like what's happening in your body when you say that?
I want to ask you, what is it about him that has you not feel comfortable to ask it?
Well, he's a big talker, and I um, I don't want to. I want to be gentle with him uh, because I want to build the relationship. You know, I have over the time. You know, like when he talks. You know, the first time we had a session, I didn't have a chance to get a word in. You know, at this point, I am able to say, Dennis, and he'll say, I need to focus, right? You know, so
Yeah.
yeah, I think, you know, I don't like to interrupt anybody, and you know, it might be an issue of confidence on my part.
Yeah. So how would you be able to open that up where you feel comfortable with asking that?
Well, maybe I do like our friend that did the coaching session we just listened to. You
Mhm.
know, like we're going to agree on a topic, and if we get off topic, would it be okay if I interjected?
Hmm. Yeah. Or you can even what's coming up for me, and I don't know, you'll have to use your version of it. But it's
Yeah,
almost like I'd like to try something different with you today,
yeah,
right? Because part of what I'm thinking too is that is he that big of a talker because he then controls the conversation because he doesn't
oh,
want to go deep.
yes. I mean, truly, I mean, the first time I was with
Yeah.
him, I thought, I don't think I can do this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I actually did have a thought like, what bluster this guy has, you know, and you know, the big,
Yeah. Yeah,
you
totally.
know, the arms, the legs, they're it's like, wow. But
But you could definitely make
It
some
has,
progress.
it's gotten better. It's gotten
Yeah.
better.
But you could definitely use, everything that you're afraid to say, right? Get some courage and do that. You'll make a difference for him for sure.
Yes, yes. Well, the recording that I submitted was with him, and I actually had kind of a breakthrough with him at some point in it when I said, um, "Are we switching topics? Just want to check in here."
Yeah, love that.
And that was, a growth edge for me.
Yeah.
And to say, we have 40 minutes. I want to make sure you bring something and you take away something,
Yeah.
which might be a good thing to say too, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, definitely. And you could even just, even say like, look, we're going to talk about whatever you want to talk about. But my role here is to keep you in line with what you want to talk about. And what I would love to add to benefit you is at times I want you to tell me like how you're feeling. Do you have any physical manifestations? What does that look like for you?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I love that for you. And I love the awareness that you have. I think as women, especially when a man is like really big, like larger than life, we tend to cower. And not saying that you're hiding away, but like I think it's an innate thing that we have that we don't realize sometimes that we're doing it. So I love the fact that you have that awareness.
Yeah, for sure. And my dad, my daddy, and I did call him daddy always,
Yeah.
was also very large. The big muscles that
Yeah.
he like took pride in, that sort of burst through his shirt and.
Yeah.
So I know there is that connection.
Yeah.
And I love being a coach and sort of chipping into that.
Yeah.
Because I suppressed myself my whole life with my dad, my
Mhm.
whole life. You didn't interrupt daddy. You
Mhm.
didn't upset daddy. You
Mhm.
certainly didn't challenge daddy.
So it's not by accident that this is your client.
No, you, you are correct.
The universe has a sense of humor.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. This is going to be a huge
You.
breakthrough for you too. I love that. So please, like today is our last class together. So I would love to hear from you, like how things are going with him and what you've discovered for yourself, because this is a huge opportunity for you to just
Yes.
and go up one more level. This is
Great.
open door for you for sure.
What's your email?
Yeah, I have so it's my name. Well, you don't have my name. So LORIMARILGS @gmail. So it's Lori Marini LGS @gmail.
And is that N as in Nancy, ARI, and as in Nancy,
It's
I?
it's like martini without the T. And the LGS is loving gypsy soul.
Wait a minute. Oh, so it's N. I mean,
M
it's M.
M. Yeah,
Lori Marini, LGS. What's that stand for?
loving gypsy soul. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for just for your heart and welcoming me here, and just I really enjoyed my time with you.
Thank you. Likewise. Thank you
Thank
very,
you.
very much, Lori. I wish you all the best, and I do celebrate so much your moving into this next clean slate chapter.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I went yesterday and I start maintenance chemo next week, which I don't want to do, but I have to do it. So I'm just going to kind of stay positive about it, but we've had a miracle. So we're not going to go
Yes,
backwards, that's for sure. But yes, please
excellent.
keep in touch. I would love it.
Definitely. I'm really glad we kind of turned a corner, and what I was thinking was a burden that I didn't know if I could get through into a really positive thing.
Oh, good. Good. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right, you be good. Go make me proud, and I hope to see you soon.
Thanks. God
All
bless.
right. Have a good day. Bye.